This is R2D-Tech, and today we're going to have a look at something quite interesting, which is the new Zoox Robo-Taxi, which is actually owned by Amazon now, so stay tuned. So a bit of background on the company Zoox. Now, they've been developing this electric car slash robo-taxi for the last 6 years or so. So the project's been going on for quite a long time. Now, recently it's become a lot more promising, especially since Amazon have become major stakeholders in the project. That just goes to show that it's something special. By the time you guys are watching this, their official video will have been released for a few days now. At this current time, they just released their official video yesterday, and it's looking really cool. So the design is kind of boxy, yes, but it also looks really futuristic, especially since it has huge sensors all around the vehicle. Now, they haven't just gone with one type of sensor like LiDAR, they've gone with 3 different sensors. So they got LiDAR, radar, and cameras as well. And of course, that's quite important since the cameras allow you to see things like traffic lights, which are color coded at the moment. The LiDAR creates a really intricate visual map of the entire area. And then the radar can just tell you how far something is away from you, like a pedestrian or something. Now, one of the main issues when it comes to these autonomous sort of vehicles is mapping out pedestrian behaviors and behaviors of other vehicles, which at times can be quite hard to predict. So they've had to develop an AI model which predicts many future outcomes and sort of plans against all of them. For example, if someone looks like he or she's going to start crossing the road, the car needs to be aware of this before they actually start crossing the road so it can slow down in time. Things like this are the main issue when it comes to these autonomous electric cars, but they seem to have done quite a good job. One of the things that helps with all of this is that the cars will already have a visual sort of map of the area. And that's because the company Zoox have sent out many test vehicles with the exact same sensors that these autonomous cars will have. And they've collected a ton of data in many different locations. And the idea is that anywhere where the car will drive autonomously has already been driven there before and collected data for, so it can be done autonomously as safe as possible. In my opinion, at least, this isn't the most futuristic approach, just because this means that everywhere where this fleet of robo-taxis can drive will have had to be mapped out beforehand. Whereas if you want to drive to some remote location that hasn't been previously mapped, then that won't be possible. I think that's just not the way to go in the future. I really like what Tesla are doing, where they want their cars to be able to drive one day completely autonomously in any new environment, and the car will just be able to work out where its surroundings are and sort of create its own map as it goes. That seems a lot more foolproof and future-proof compared to having to previously map everything out, because that's just not realistic for something like the entire globe. Other than that though, I really like what they're doing by having all 3 types of sensors. It just adds an extra level of safety, whereas other companies like Tesla insist on only using cameras, which might perhaps not be the very safest approach. The way this thing is designed though is very positive in my opinion. Yes, as I said before, the outside is quite boxy, but they have rounded off the edges and it does look very futuristic and actually quite friendly if you look at the videos. But then the inside is quite interesting. So it's got a very utilitarian feel. They've got almost like a bus style floor and the seats are quite spaced apart, which is very, very convenient if you want to carry luggage or bags with you as well. But since this is sort of owned by Amazon now, or at least they're very large stakeholders, this is definitely going to be integrated with things like Prime and Prime Music and everything like that. So when you get inside, it might even be able to identify who you are, because you probably would have had to scan something to actually enter the taxi, and it will have had to save your preferences from your last trip. So maybe you can even create like a taxi playlist or something like that, or even watch a movie, which would be pretty cool. It's not just the interior though that makes this thing look very spacious and utilitarian and bus-like on a positive note. It's also the way the doors open, quite surprisingly. So they open almost exactly like you'd see a bus door opening, like going out and away, which is very convenient if you're like in a tight parking lot space or something and you don't actually have the room to open the door outwards. This will just open sideways like one of those sliding car doors, And I think that's very, very convenient in most cases. Also, since this thing is being used primarily as a taxi, this just opens up more possibilities as to where you could pick someone up or drop someone off. There could be some interesting ideas there as well. Probably the most exciting part for me at least is that this vehicle is aimed solely at the passengers. In fact, there is no driver's seat, there's no driver, and there's no steering wheel at all. So this is probably one of the first truly autonomous vehicles. Because although Tesla are very ahead of the game as well, they still leave steering wheels in the car. There's still a driver, there's still a driver's seat. Whereas this company want to go full on just autonomous. And I think that's definitely the future. I think we all know that that's the future. And having a fleet of taxis like this is quite an exciting idea. Maybe the prices could even go down as well, since you wouldn't have to pay for drivers or anything like that. You'd mainly just have to pay for maintenance costs. So who knows, one day maybe everyone will be using taxis on a subscription instead of going down into the tube or anything like that. And since they're all electric, if we get the whole electric power generation thing sorted out to be almost 100% renewable, this could also make for a really nice green future, and perhaps even be implemented on things like buses and other vehicles like that, which would also mean that the use of petrol would go down quite significantly in the future. In terms of timescale of when we might actually see these things all over the road, I'm not sure whether to be optimistic or not. On the one hand, since a major company like Amazon are now major stakeholders in the project, and as you probably already know, they're very powerful and have a lot of money, they've definitely accelerated the project quite a lot. On the other hand though, I'm not too sure whether it will be here anytime soon, just because of all the safety requirements and not having a steering wheel at all. That could really decelerate the project quite a lot. But I would definitely be optimistic enough to say that within the next 5-10 years, I really do expect to see things like this on the road. So this was just a bit of a short video, almost like a tech news update sort of thing. If you like this sort of thing, then please let me know in the comments section. And if you like this video, then definitely leave a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well. If you really liked it, then hit the notification bell below as well.